Yes, hello and welcome everybody. It's Chris here from the Ministry of Dice, and I'm back again today with another one of my video presentations. And as you can see on the screen there, in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the new loyalty token mechanic. Yes, that's right. We've got a new game effect coming down the pipeline. It's in the upcoming Dice Masters Dark Phoenix Saga set. It's called Loyalty, and it awards loyalty tokens. We've seen some spoiled cards so far that have shown us what that's all about. So I want to take a few minutes to kind of focus on that for a second, preview the mechanic a little bit, and reveal some cards for the first time today from the new Dark Phoenix Saga set that are loyalty token related, that connect to the game effect and give us better insight as to what it's going to mean for our gameplay, for our team building, for our drafting, as we enjoy the game of Dice Masters through the new set. So yeah, there we go. So spoiler alert, if you are not a fan of spoilers and you like the surprise on launch day, then stop now. Although if you are stopping, obviously go on and watch another Ministry of Dice video, OVS. But if you would like to preview some more loyalty token related cards and hear my thoughts about the new mechanic, the new game effect, then stick around. Great, okay, well, I'll just pause in case any non-spoiler fans are leaving. Have they left? I think they've probably gone now. Okay, let's get into it. Let's take a look at some stuff. Okay, well, let's start by defining the loyalty mechanic, and here is the game text that's going to be featured on the insert card with the draft packs. It says, Loyalty. Loyalty counters stay on a character card and give those dice +1 attack and +1 defense for each loyalty counter. So somewhat of a reinterpretation. It reminds me of the D&D, the Dungeons and Dragons game effect experience. It's shooting for the same end game, really, of buffing up and building up your characters so that they're increasingly more powerful as the game goes on. Experience, of course, though, that was triggered by KOing monsters. What you'll see in the cards that I'm about to show you is that the loyalty counter effect in Dark Phoenix Saga has different triggers that are called out on the characters themselves. So whereas experience in Dungeons and Dragons had a kind of blanket sort of trigger that would accrue you the loyalty counters, in Dark Phoenix Saga cards what you'll find is that the loyalty counters are accrued, each card will call out how it will accrue a loyalty counter, although there are some that kind of follow a trend, which I'll show you in a second. So really interesting. I think it's interesting because we've seen teams in the past that utilize buffing game effects to build towards their end goal, their win condition. It's an effect that plays really well with making things unblockable, giving things overcrush, with cards and dice that have large area effects for board clear. So it opens up a lot of options, a lot of combo avenues that you can explore and play around with. And as you'll see from the cards as well, there's some nice kind of thematic twists in there too. So let's take a look at some of the cards now that we've defined it. Here's a couple that we've seen spoiled already. We've got the Supreme Intelligence, Merciless, and the Gladiator, The Empire Must Stand. Supreme Intelligence, Merciless is particularly interesting. It's very eye-catching because of that really high purchase cost of 12. I mean, yowza, 12. But he can get cheaper because it says here Supreme Intelligence costs 1 less to purchase for each loyalty counter on it. And the trigger that acquires loyalty counters for the Supreme Intelligence, when you purchase Ronan the Accuser or attack with a Ronan the Accuser character die, put a loyalty counter on Supreme Intelligence's card. So very thematically driven, all about the Kree Empire, and Ronan the Accuser is the kind of Kree's general enforcery dude. General as in military rank, not general enforcer. Although I suppose he could be referred to as the general enforcer as well. Weird tangent there, Chris. Cool story, bro. Definitely interesting. The Ronan Accusers that we've seen so far, we've just seen one. He's actually not a great best fit. You lose life when you field the new Ronan Accuser. And if you're interested in seeing that card, you should head on over to Britroller 6. If you go into the title bar, there's a button at the top there that says spoilers from unreleased sets, and you can go in and take a look at the Ronan Accuser I'm referring to there. But probably somewhat of a bad fit at this point. Hopefully when we see some other Ronan Accusers, there might be something more interesting. Gladiator, The Empire Must Stand, though, is definitely eye-catching. 6 cost fist. He's got Overcrush, which, as I said before, is a great fit for these kind of buffing mechanics, because as he gets bigger and bigger and bigger, that Overcrush makes it more and more threatening. And his trigger, when Lilandra is KO'd, put a loyalty counter on Gladiator's card. And we've seen a Lilandra so far that's a 3 cost. She's vanilla with a global that could be a good fit for fielding and rinse and repeat KOing to build up the Gladiator's stats and making that Overcrush even more horrifying. Also, just as a side note, don't forget, folks, I haven't got a picture of it on screen here, but there's all rarities of the Dark Phoenix card carry a global that can KO characters. It's a pay a bolt, KO a character, and reduce the cost of your next dice purchase by 2. It's a reprint of the old Blue Eyes White Dragon favourite from back in the day. So you've got a route to KO in your own characters for cards like Gladiator that need a KO to trigger their loyalty counter. So if you get in the right groove, get a Gladiator out, get a Lilandra out, and then just roll bolts and KO Lilandras with impunity you can build that Gladiator up to be a really, really scary, super muscly Overcrusher, who, incidentally, has a great global too, because you can pay a fist when he attacks, and your character dice can't be targets of action dice or global abilities while that's going on. So my fave, Static Field, is removed from the equation. But there you go. So Gladiator particularly, less so I suppose Supreme Intelligence, is a great example of how that loyalty counter mechanic can help you build in a win condition into your team. And also Gladiator and that Lilandra, low rarities, so good chance you might be able to draft them while you're playing as well. That's a 2-card combo, maybe with the common Dark Phoenix as well. 3-card combo, I suppose, then, to win you games. Brilliant. But those are 2 we've seen already. Let's take a look at another Supreme Intelligence that's got the loyalty counter game effect attached to it. We've got Supreme Intelligence Kree Science Council here. 6-cost mask, much more reasonable. And he reads, when a card with Kree in its name is KO'd, put a loyalty counter on Supreme Intelligence card. So immediately, right away, my mind leaps to the Kree Invasion team pack, thinking of the Kree Soldier and the Kree Captains in there. A number of those cards are 2 purchase costs, so they're really low-cost dice to get your hands on to do this kind of KO effect. Again, Dark Phoenix or Nihilor Global to kill him off, to build up your Supreme Intelligence and make him super, super scary. The distinction here, I suppose, is that the Supreme Intelligence, in comparison to the Gladiator, is not coming with the added value of the Overcrush mechanic. You'd need to find another way of making your Supreme Intelligence card an Overcrusher. Your Supreme Intelligence dice, an Overcrusher, which, there might just be a way to do that I'll be showing you. So stick around to the end of the video, folks. But I like this. I like the fact that it's kind of thematic. It's perhaps more casually driven to sort of Kree-themey teams. We haven't seen any other Kree cards other than Ronan the Accuser in the set. There's certainly not, to this point anyway, a card with Kree in its name. So in set, perhaps not a great draft pick, unless we do see a card with Kree in its name subsequently. Who knows? But it's certainly when you're playing Constructed, and if you're looking to do a kind of casual Kree-themed team, then the Kree Invasion, Kree Soldiers, and Kree Captains are definitely the way to go for this guy. Yeah, there we are. Okay, let's move on. That's all the Spacey dudes, and they've got some loyalty token stuff going on. But they're not the only people playing around with loyalty tokens. The Brotherhood of Evil Mutants are getting in on the action as well. And here's another new card that we've not seen before. Magneto Loyalist? Magneto Idealist. He's a 6-cost mask with the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants affiliation. Just as an incidental side note, somebody I noticed called out that some of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants don't have the villain tag on them, that they're just Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Now, and that was unusual to them, because they're right, traditionally the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, I mean, they're called Evil Mutants, obviously they're villains, but this is a kind of a callback to the way the new House of X storyline has been unraveling in the X-Men comic books right now, being written by Jonathan Hickman, because the evil mutants, the naughty mutants, have integrated and moved on the island of Krakoa with the good mutants. They've just become, a mutant cooperative living arrangement thing. So that's why, if anyone's interested. But in any case, the card. So Magneto says, when one of your mask character dice is KO'd, put a loyalty counter on Magneto's card. So loyalty counters definitely got a kind of that thematic undertone of, if one of their allies, one of their buddies, one of their teammates gets KO'd and died, they're going to come back stronger. They're going to be spurred on to take revenge. And so there's definitely something going on there. He clearly is going to have Brotherhood of Evil Mutant synergies that will be useful, but there's a plethora of mass characters that you might be wanting to look at KOing and using to buff him up. So certainly one to look at. He's got some pretty painful fielding costs to be mindful of. He's 144,257,368. In fact, I'm noticing fielding costs increasing just sort of generally at the moment across Infinity Gauntlet and the Dark Phoenix Saga. And in addition to that, he's got a useful global. Pay a mask once per turn during your turn. If you have no dice in your prep area, you may draw a die and place it in your prep area. So a lovely way of prepping. It's the Villainous Pact. And I like cards like this that have got a sort of dual value to it, because he can be a contributor to your team as well as bringing the global that's really helpful as well. So Magneto there. But he isn't the only Brotherhood of Evil Mutants character that we've got loyalty tokens going on. Speaking of mask characters, we've got Madelyn Pryor Sisterhood here. She's the 3-cost mask, Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. When one of your Brotherhood character die is KO'd, besides Madelyn Pryor, put a loyalty counter on her card. And her stats are 013, 014, and 124. So much more reasonable in terms of fielding costs. This theme of when one of their buddies, one of their allies, one of their teammates gets KO'd, again appearing here. So there's kind of an industry standard in terms of what a loyalty trigger looks and feels like. She's a relatively low-cost mask character that might combo well with Magneto as a 3-cost mask. She is affiliation-focused, so I love that. I love that it's kind of tied into, really encourages people to build teams around the affiliations and follow the themes of the game and follow the lore of the game, which I think is really interesting and exciting. So yeah, we've got Madelyn Pryor in the Sisterhood. The Brotherhood of Evil Mutants is shaping up to be the new affiliation on the scene, definitely. We've all been playing around with X-Men and the Red V villains for so long that I'm really excited to see what people do with Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. And you absolutely should check out cards like Toad and Mystique that are telling us a little bit more about how they're going to be movers and shakers on the affiliated meta scene. Absolutely. So yeah, there you go. There's some more. So we can see this trend line, the triggers following a very kind of similar kind of feel to them. It's focused around characters getting KO'd, but an interesting insect combo. And again, these are low rarity cards. We've got a common on the Magneto and an uncommon on the Madelyn Pryor, so they're accessible in the draft context as well as in the constructed context, which I think is really notable for a set that's a draft pack set, you know. All right, let's take a look at something else. So the Spacey people are getting in on loyalty tokens. The Brotherhood of Evil Mutants are getting in on loyalty tokens, but so are the X-Men as well. Here's one we've seen before, Moira, Strength of Foresight, 3-cost shield, X-Men affiliation. We originally spoiled this one in our founder introduction article that we did on BritRoller6.com, so please do go check that out if you get a few minutes. And in the context of this video, she reads, while Moira is active, when you field an X-Men character die with a purchase cost of 3 or more, put a loyalty counter on Moira. And she's also got this really super duper added value bit. When fielded, you may send target action die from your opponent's field zone to their use pile. So a little bit of action hate for your god catchers and your great drunkards of the world. Or who am I kidding? For the god catchers of the world. She's a pretty low platform to start on if you're looking to build up loyalty counters. 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2. So you're going to be working hard and you're going to have to be fielding lots of 3+ cost X-Men to build up her stats, but there's plenty to choose from, that's for sure. Again, I'll reiterate, if you want to explore them further, then head on over to BritRoller6.com and have a look at the spoilers in the unreleased card spoiler gallery. But one to take a look at just now, which is another loyalty game effect related card, is Jean Grey, Peaceful Coexistence. 4-cost Bolt, X-Men affiliation. She's a founder also, which has got its own implications. And she reads, while Jean Grey is active, at the end of each of your turns, if no character dice were KO'd that turn, put a loyalty counter on Jean Grey's card. And she's 133, 255, and 366. So there's those really painful fielding costs again. Now, she's interesting, of course, because a 4-cost is reasonable, but she's a much higher stat platform to be starting your loyalty counter build up from. You know, she's 3, 3, 5, 5, 6, 6 is a much stronger starting point for building up those loyalty counters to making her a much more threatening, more powerful card. But I love the twist here that these guys, whereas what we've seen in the kind of more villainous naughty characters is like when something's KO'd, These shift the trigger into a new space where it's all about fielding new characters, keeping people alive, which is really thematic in connection to these characters, and certainly again in the House of X storyline, what they represent there. Because Moira is all about mutant survival and gathering mutants and taking them to the island of Krakoa so that they can work together to protect and defend themselves as a race in the human species. And Jean Grey is all about taking the peaceful route first, being a pacifist first, although, she can kick ass when she wants to too. So yeah, really like the shift in the way the triggers go here. But the Jean Grey is particularly interesting. And also, because both of them are founders, you can have a lot of access to really other great added value game effects that will tie the team together much better too. So really, really interesting. I was sat thinking, pop in the comments below, I was mulling over how you could absolutely guarantee that none of your character dice are KO'd in any given turn. I think there's some basic actions and stuff out there, but I was doing a route through before, I didn't pin them down, but I know they're out there. So let me know in the comments below, what's a way that I can make sure my Jean Grey, well, it says no character dice were KO'd, so you need to make sure your opponent's characters don't get KO'd. I was wondering about, is that finally the reason to buy an actual static field card, rather than just putting it on your team for the global? I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, there's a basic action that I'm trying to put my fingers on. I can't remember the name, so if someone can help me out, that would be great. Okay then, let's take a look at some other stuff. So we've got, these are some example character cards that are using the loyalty tokens, but what you'll also notice now is that the basic action suite in the set have got a big focus on loyalty counters as well. Let's take a look at this one, for example. I mentioned before that there's going to be a way of giving our characters overcrush, and this is the card I was referring to, Living the Dream. It's a 4-cost basic action, and it's continuous, and it says, if among all character cards on your team you have at least 3 loyalty counters, your character dice get +1 attack and overcrush. I struggled to get my head around this one a little bit. So, greater minds than I, if you could help me out, that'd be great. Like, to the point, what's the point of the continuous? But it really gives you a reason to really hunker down and work on loyalty counters. If you can get 3 loyalty counter cards on your team, then you're giving them all +1 attack and overcrush. So you've got a method of buffing them up in the loyalty game effect, and then you've got a method of giving specifically these loyalty counter cards overcrush. Now, what's super nice about that is if you are using loyalty counters and your opponent isn't, you've got a basic action in the communal pool that is only beneficial to you and not beneficial to them, which I think is really interesting and exciting. It's something I struggle with, basic actions, worrying about my opponent using them. So you've got that nice little twist there. It can, if you draw it in your draft pack when you're drafting, it can just immediately give you some direction and purpose around what you're drafting too, which I think is super helpful when it comes to drafting teams. And it turns some of those loyalty counter cards that, like the Supreme Intelligence, that doesn't come loaded, preloaded with Overcrush, unlike Gladiator, for example, and gives them Overcrush. So it turns, not only are they just becoming a big wall sitting in your field zone, but they also become offensive because you can drive that damage through with the Overcrush. So really interested in this one as a basic action, and I think this is perhaps one of the ways to really tie the loyalty counter mechanic together. But this isn't the only basic action in the new set that kind of brings loyalty counters to life some more. Here's 2 others that roll into it. You've got Greetings from Krakoa, which is a 3-cost basic action and reads, spin up each die whose card has a loyalty counter. Each of your dice that spins up this turn gets +2 attack. So just really amping up that attack potential. In addition to accruing the loyalty counters, getting them up to their top level so that you're really maxing out the stat potential in your dice, and then giving them a little buff the turn it's played as well, I think is really, really fun. Can't wait to play a Colossus X-Men loyalty counter team. I'm probably a bit ambitious doing too much there with this on it, but there you go. But then on the flip side as well, you might be going, whoa, this is going to get insane. This is going to get so out of hand. All these loyalty counters, all these massive characters floating about. What the hell am I going to do? On the flip side of that, we've got Tight Ranks, a 3-cost basic action. Got an interesting game text. If you have at least 3 active character dice that share a team affiliation, KO target character die. So again, another one of those that could be super useful if you've got a very affiliated, focused team and your opponent hasn't. It's a basic action that's of more use to you than them. But the reason it's been included in this spoiler pool is because of the global. Pay a shield, target character die with at least one loyalty counter gets -2/-2. So in set, there's actually a global speed effect that can help you mitigate some of the scariness of loyalty counters as you're watching your opponent's characters get bigger and bigger and bigger. And possibly a draft pick, out of your 3 basic actions that you pull. Is it 3 basic actions in Dark Phoenix? I think it is. But if you pull that one, then it's just a nice bit of protection in set, certainly for drafting, or if your meta just gets plagued suddenly by loyalty counter shenanigans going on, you've got a way of managing and dealing with those loyalty counters a little bit, at least mitigating them a little bit. And notice it's not once per turn, so if you've got the shields, you can reduce these loyalty counter cards down to 0 if you were so inclined. So you can see there from all the basic actions, that's 3 so far with a kind of loyalty counter related focus on them. So there we are then, folks. That's everything I've got for you today in terms of loyalty counter. Hopefully I've given you a greater insight into what it's all about, how it's going to play, started generating some thoughts and ideas in you about how you're going to use them, and perhaps some of my insights will help give you some direction around that. Please do let me know in the comments below if there's any combos that spring to mind or any ideas you've got that's got you excited or got you fearful, and counters as well. If you've got any ideas as to how you can help reduce character stats, prevent loyalty tokens from creating these massive behemoths that you can then overcrush up with a basic action, then let me know on that front too. But that brings me to the end of my look at the new loyalty token mechanic. Remember to give us a like if you've enjoyed what I've done today. Check out the BritRoller6.com website to see the gallery and to read my articles with further spoilers and further information about new sets, in addition to all the other great stuff that I write about. If you're watching this at the moment of release, don't forget about the Dice Masters vs. Cancer charity event that we're running on the 28th of November. Again, information can be found at BritRoller6.com. But in the meantime, I'll catch you on a video, on a blog post, or on a Ministry of Dice podcast sometime soon. Thanks for watching, folks.